गुरु श्री मुझी बाबा की जय।
Story of the Great Forest, Yoga Vasistha. Vasistha continued, O Rama, whatever might have been the origin of the mind, and whatever it might be, one should constantly direct it towards liberation through self-effort. The pure mind is free from latent tendencies, and therefore it attains self-knowledge. Since the entire universe is within the mind, the notions of bondage and liberation are also within it. In the connection, there is the following legend which I heard from the Creator Brahma himself. Listen to it attentively. There was a great forest so large that millions of square miles were like the space within an atom in it. In it, there was just one person who had 1,000 arms and limbs. He was forever restless. He had a mace in his hand with which he beat himself, and afraid of the beating, he ran away in panic. He fell into a blind well. He came out of it, again beat himself, again ran away in panic, this time into a forest. He came out of it, again beat himself, again ran away in panic, this time into a banana grove. Though there was no other being to fear, he wept and cried aloud in fear. He kept running as before, beating himself as before. I witnessed all this intuitively, and with the power of my will, I restrained him for a moment. I asked him, "Who are you?" But he was sorely distressed and called me his enemy, and wept aloud and then laughed aloud. Then he began to abandon his body, limb by limb. Immediately after this, I saw another person running like the first one, beating himself, weeping and wailing. When I restrained him, he began to abuse me and ran away, intent on his own way of life. Like this, I came across several persons. Some listened to my words and, abandoning their previous ways of life, became enlightened. Some others ignored me or even held me in contempt. Some others even refused to come out of the blind well or the dense forest. Such is the great forest, O Rama. No one finds a sure resting place in it. whatever be the mode of life they may adopt. Even today you see such people in this world, and you yourself have seen such a life of ignorance and delusion. Because you are young and ignorant, you do not understand it. Vasistha continued, O Rama, this great forest is not far away, nor is it that strange man in a strange land. This world itself is the forest. It is a great void, but this void is seen only in the light of inquiry. This light of inquiry is the I in the parable. The wisdom is accepted by some and rejected by others, who continue to suffer. They who accept it are enlightened. The person with thousands of arms in the middle of the countless manifestations, the mind punishes itself by its own latent tendencies and restlessly wanders in the world. The blind well in the story is hell, and the banana grove is heaven. The dense forest of thorny bush is the life of a worldly man, with the numerous thorns of wife, children, wealth, etc., hurting him all the time. The mind now wanders into hell, now into hell, and now into the world of human beings. Even when the light of wisdom shines on the life of the deluded mind, it foolishly rejects it, considering that the wisdom is its enemy. Then it weeps and wails in distress. Sometimes it experiences an imperfect awakening, and it renounces the pleasures of the world without proper understanding. Such renunciation itself proves to be a great source of sorrow. But when such renunciation arises out of the fullness of understanding, of wisdom born of inquiry into the nature of the mind, the renunciation leads to supreme bliss. Such a mind may even look at its own past notions of pleasure with puzzlement. Just as the limbs of the person, as they were cut away, fell down and disappeared, the latent tendencies of the person who wisely renounces the world also vanishes from the mind. Behold the play of ignorance, which makes one hurt oneself out of one's own violation, and which makes one run hither and thither in meaningless panic. Though the light of self-knowledge shines in every heart, yet one wanders in the world driven by one's own latent desires. And the mind itself intensifies the sorrow and goads one to go around in circles. By its own whims and fancies, thoughts and hopes, it binds oneself. Then it is visited by sorrow and despair. When it is visited by sorrow, it despairs and becomes restless. When one who gains wisdom preserves it for a long time and persists in the practice of inquiry, he does not experience sorrow. An uncontrolled mind is the source of sorrow. When it is thoroughly understood, the sorrow like mist vanishes like mist at sunrise. Vasistha continued, the individual consciousness, that is the mind, has arisen in the Supreme Being, O Rama. It is both different and non-different from the infinite consciousness, even as a wave is different and non-different from the ocean. To the enlightened mind, it is the absolute Brahman and not else. To the unenlightened mind, it is the cause of repetitive history, samsara. When dualistic concepts are used by us, O Rama, it is only to facilitate instruction. The division is not real. The absolute Brahman is omnipotent, and there is nothing which is outside of it. It is his own power or energy that pervades all things. In embodied, it is the Sit Sakti, the power of consciousness or intelligence. It is the motion in air, stability in earth, void in space, and it is the power of self-consciousness, the I am, in created beings. Yet all this is nothing but the power of Absolute. It is the power of disintegration, the power that causes grief in the grief-stricken, the power that causes elation in the joyous. In the warrior, it is valor, and in the power that triggers creation. And the same power brings about the dissolution of the universe. The jiva is at the junction of consciousness and matter. And because it is a reflection of the absolute Brahman, it is said to be in Brahman. See the entire universe and also the I as the absolute Brahman. For the self which is Brahman is omnipresent. When that self thinks, it is known as mind. It is nothing but the power of the absolute Brahman, which is not different from Brahman. It is all this arbitrary division that I and this are apparent reflections. The very reality of the mind is Brahman alone. Here and there, now and then, this power of Brahman manifests one or the other of its power. All this manifestation is but the apparent reflection of the power of Brahman, not as real creation. Thus creation, transformation, existence and destruction are all brought about by Brahman in Brahman. It is nothing but Brahman. The instruments of action and the doer, both birth and death and existence, all this is Brahman. Nothing else is, even an imagination. Delusion, craving, greed, attachment, and non-existence. How can they exist when there is no duality? When bondage is non-existent, surely liberation is false too. Rama asked, Holy Sir, you said that when the mind thinks of something, it materializes. Now you say that bondage does not exist. How can these be reconciled? Vasistha replied, O Rama, the mind in a state of ignorance imagines bondage. The bondage exists only in that state of ignorance. Just as the dream object vanishes when the dreamer wakes up, all these hallucinations known as bondage and liberation do not exist in the eyes of the enlightened. The story of the three non-existent princes. Vasistha continued, to illustrate this, there is an interesting legend. Kindly listen to it. A young boy asked his nanny to tell him a story, and the nanny told him the following story, which the boy listened to with great attention. Once upon a time in a city which did not exist, there were three princes, who were brave and happy. Once upon a time in a city, Once upon a time in a city which did not exist, there were three princes who were very brave and happy. Of them, two were unborn and the third was not conceived. Unfortunately, all their relatives died. The princes left their native city to go elsewhere. Very soon they fell into a swoon, unable to bear the heat of the sun. Their feet were burned by hot sand. The tips of grass pierced them. They reached the shade of three trees, of which two did not exist, and the third was not even planted. After resting for some time and eating the fruits of those trees, they proceeded further. They reached the banks of three rivers. Of them, two were dry, and the third, there was no water. The princes had a refreshing bath and quenched their thirst in them. Then they They then reached a huge city which was about to be built. Entering it, they found three palaces of exceeding beauty. Of them, two had not been built at all, and the third had no walls. They entered the palaces and found three golden plates. Two of them had been broken in two, and the third had been pulverized. They took hold of the one which had been pulverized. They then took 99 minutes, 100 grams, 99 minus, sorry, they then took 99 minus 100 grams of rice and cooked it. They then invited three holy men to be their guests, of them two had no body and the third no mouth. After these holy men had eaten the food, the three princes partook of the rest of the food and cooked. The three princes partook of the rest of the food cooked. They were greatly pleased. Thus they lived in the city for a long time in peace and joy. My child, this is an extremely beautiful legend. Pray remember this always, and you will grow up into a learned man. O Rama, when the little boy heard this, he was thrilled. What is known as the creation of the world is no more real than the story of the young boy. This world is nothing but pure hallucination. It is nothing more than an idea. In the infinite consciousness, the idea of creation arose, and that is what is. O Rama, this is nothing more than an idea. All objects of consciousness in the world are just an idea. Reject the error, the dirt of ideation and be free of ideas, and remain rooted in truth, attain peace. Vasistha continued, only a fool, not a wise man, is deluded by his own ideas. It is a fool who thinks that the imperishable is perishable and gets deluded. Egotism is but an idea based on false association of the self with a physical element. When one alone exists in all this as the infinite consciousness, how has what is called egotism arisen? In fact, this egotism does not exist any more than the mirage exists in the desert. Therefore, O Rama, abandon your imperfect vision which is not based on fact. Rest in the perfect vision which is of the nature of bliss and which is based on truth. Inquire into the nature of truth. Abandon falsehood. You are ever free. Why do you call yourself bound and then grieve? The self is infinite. Why, how, and by whom is it bound? There is no division in the self, for the absolute Brahman is all this. What then is called bondage and what is liberation? It is only in the state of ignorance that you think you experience pain, though you are untouched by pain. These things do not exist in the self. Let the body fall or rise, or let it go on to another universe. I am not confined to the body. Then how am I affected by all this? The relation between the body and the self is like the relation between cloud and wind, like the relation between lotus and the bee. When the cloud disappears, the wind becomes one with the space. When the lotus withers, the bee flies away into the sky. The self is not destroyed when the body falls. Even the mind does not cease to be until it is burnt in the fire of self-knowledge, not to mention the self. Death is but the veiling by time and space of the ever-present self. Only foolish people fear death. Abandon your latent tendencies even as a bird wishing to fly into the sky breaks out of its shell. Born of ignorance, these tendencies are hard to destroy, and they give birth to endless sorrow. It is this ignorant, self-limiting tendency of the mind that views the infinite as finite. However, even as sun dispels mist, inquiry into the nature of self dispels the ignorant self-limiting tendency. In fact, the very desire to undertake this inquiry is able to bring about a change. Austerities and such other practices are of no use in this. When the mind is purified of its past by the arising of wisdom, it abandons its previous tendencies. The mind seeks the self only in order to dissolve itself in the self. This indeed is the very nature of the mind. This is the supreme goal. Rama, strive for this. At this stage, another day came to a close.
To him who was with pity overcome. Okay, this is the selection from the Bhagavad Gita made by Sri Ramana Maharishi. Sanjaya said, to him who was with pity overcome, with smarting, brimming eyes, despondent thus, Madhusudana spake to him with these words. Bhagavan said, this body that ye see, the field is called, and that which knoweth it, the sages call the knower of the field, O Kunti's son. Knower of field in all the fields, know me. Knowledge of field and knower of it too. True knowledge that, in my opinion, is, it is I, O Gudakesha, am the Self, seated within the heart of everyone. Of all I am beginning, middle, end. For death is certain for all creatures born, and birth is certain for all those who die. Therefore thou shouldst not grieve for what must be. He is not born, nor dies, nor having been ceaseth, he evermore to be unborn. Abiding, everlasting, ancient too. He is not slain, the body being killed. Uncleavable and incombustible, and neither to be wetted nor to be dried. Perpetual, all pervasive, stable too. Immovable from everlasting he. For know that that is indestructible, whom all this doth pervade. There is no one who can destroy the imperishable one. The unreal hath no being, and the real doth never cease to be. The truth of both by seers of reality has been seen. As omnipresent either is not touched by reason of its subtlety, so too the self is not touched either, as it dwells within the body, seated everywhere. There the sun lightens not, nor moon, nor fire. Having gone thither, they return no more. This is of me, this one supreme abode. And this unmanifested one is called the indestructible. The highest state, those reaching it will never more return. This is of me, the one supreme abode. Without pride or delusion, victory over attachment, dwelling here in self, with pacified desire, free from the pairs of pain and pleasure, from delusion free, they to the place immutable do go. He who the scripture's ordinance forsakes, and followeth the promptings of desire, attaineth not perfection, happiness, nor doth he gain unto the highest goal. Seated within all beings equally, the Supreme Lord, unperishing within the perishing, he who sees him, he sees. But by devotion unto me alone, follow this way in essence may be seen, and known and entered too, O Arjuna. The faith of each to his own nature's shaped. Man is instinct with faith, O Bharata, wherein his faith so verily is he. The man intent on faith doth knowledge gain, also that one with senses held in check. Knowledge obtained, he peace doth swiftly gain. To these ear tranquil, worshipping in love, the yoga of inquiry by which they came to me, O Bharata. From pure compassion dwelling in their self, by shining lamp of knowledge I destroy their darkness which from ignorance is born. Truly in whom is ignorance destroyed. By knowledge of the self, knowledge in them discloses the Supreme, shining like sun. The senses are called great, greater the mind. Greater than mind, the understanding is, than understanding greater for is he. Knowing him higher than understanding far, and petrifying ego by the self, slay thou enemy that is desire, so hard to overcome, and mighty armed. As burning fire of fuel ashes make, so doth the fire of knowledge, Arjuna, reduce all actions unto ashes too, whose works are free from molding of desire, whose act by fire of knowledge are burned up. That person, learned one, is designate. The bliss of the eternal enfolds those who know themselves, weaned from desire and wrath, subdued in nature and subdued in thought. Little by little let him peace obtain, by understanding steadiness attained. Having made mind within the self abide, let him not think of anything at all. Wherever the unsteady, wavering mind outward projects, withdraw it from that place and lead it under sway of self alone. With senses, mind, and reason, ear controlled, a sage on liberation solely bent, having forever cast away desire, with fear and wrath, in truth has freedom won. The one by yoga harmonized doth see the self dwelling in all and all in self, and looks on everything impartially. To those people who worship me alone, thinking of no one else, harmonious ear, for them I undertake to gain and guard. Of these the wise one ever harmonized, and worshipping the one is best of all. I am supremely dear to the wise one, and the wise one supremely dear to me. At close of many births, he who is full of knowledge and worships me, thinking the white, Vasudeva is all, Mahatma he. Such is indeed most difficult to find. When one gets rid of all the mind's desires and is contented in the self by self, then he is called one of stable mind. Whoso forsaketh all desires and goes upon his way, from every yearnings free, devoid of I and mine, he peace achieves. That man by whom the world is not perturbed, nor by the world perturbed, free from the cares of anger, joy, and fear, is dear to me. The same in honor, ignominy too, the same to friend and foe, abandoning all undertakings, he is said to have gone quite beyond all the three qualities. But that man who rejoices in the self, with self satisfied, with self content, for him in truth, there is nothing more to do. He gains or loses nothing by his acts, or by inaction, and he has no need from any being to ask. Content with all he without effort gets, free from the peers, from envy also free, balanced in failure and in success too. Though acting he by action, he is not bound. The Lord dwells in the hearts of everyone, causing by his elusive power them all to spin like marionettes upon wheels. To him or shelter flee with all thy heart. By his grace, peace supreme, thou shalt obtain, which is the everlasting dwelling place.
Obsession with the body. We are reading I Am That from Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj. Question: Maharaj, you are sitting in front of me and I am here at your feet. What is the basic difference between us? Maharaj, there is no basic difference. Question: Still, there must be some real difference. I come to you, you do not come to me. Maharaj, because you imagine differences, you go here and there in search of superior people. Questioner, you too are a superior person. You claim to know the real, while I do not. Maharaj, did I ever tell you that you do not know and therefore you are inferior? Let those who intended such distinctions prove them. I do not claim to know what you do not. In fact, I know much less than you do. Questioner, your words are wise, your behavior noble, your grace all-powerful. Maharaj, I know nothing about it at all and see no difference between you and me. My life is a succession of events, just like yours. Only I am detached and see the passing show as a passing show, while you stick to things and move along with them. Questioner, what made you so dispassionate? Maharaj, nothing in particular. It so happened that I trusted my guru. He told me I am nothing but myself, and I believed him. Trusting him, I behaved accordingly and ceased caring for what was not me nor mine. Questioner, why were you lucky to trust your teacher fully, while our trust is nominal and verbal? Maharaj, who can say? It happened so. Things happened without cause and reason, and after all, what does it matter? Who is who? Your high opinion of me is your opinion only. Any moment you may change it. Why attach importance to opinions, even your own? Questioner, still you are different. Your mind seems to be always quiet and happy, and miracles happen around you. Maharaj, I know nothing about miracles, and I wonder whether nature admits exceptions to her law unless we agree that everything is a miracle. As to my mind, there is no such thing. There is no consciousness in which everything happens. It is quite obvious and within the experience of everybody. You just do not look carefully enough. Look well and see what I see. Questioner, what do you see? Maharaj, I see what you too could see here and now, but for the wrong focus of your attention. You give no attention to yourself. Your mind is all with things, people, and ideas, never with yourself. Bring yourself into focus. Become aware of your own existence. See how you function. Watch the motives and the results of your actions. Study the prison you have built around yourself by inadvertence. By knowing what you are not, you come to know yourself. The way back to yourself is through refusal and rejection. One thing is certain, the real is not imaginary. It is not a product of the mind. Even the sense I am is not continuous, though it is a useful pointer. It shows where to seek, but not what to seek. Just have a good look at it. Once you are convinced that you cannot say truthfully about yourself anything except I am, and that nothing that can be pointed at can be yourself, the need for the I am is over. You are no longer intended on verbalizing what you are. All you need is to get rid of the tendency to define yourself. All definitions apply to your body only and to its expressions. Once this obsession with the body goes, you will revert to your natural state continuously and effortlessly. The only difference between us is that I am aware of my natural state while you are bemused. Just like gold made into ornaments has no advantage over gold dust, except when the mind makes it so, so are we one it being. We differ only in appearance. We discover it by being earnest, by searching, inquiring, questioning daily and hourly, by giving one's life to this discovery.
A living present. Questioner. As I can see, there is nothing wrong with my body, nor with my real being. Both are not of my making, and need not be improved upon. What has gone wrong is the inner body, call it mind, consciousness, whatever the name. Maharaj, what do you consider to be wrong with your mind? Questioner. It is restless, greedy of the pleasant and afraid of the unpleasant. Maharaj. What is wrong with its seeking the pleasant and shirking the unpleasant? Between the banks of pain and pleasure, the river of life flows. It is only when the mind refuses to flow with life and gets stuck at the banks that it becomes a problem. By flowing with life, I mean acceptance, letting come what comes and go what goes. Desire not, fear not. Observe the actual, as and when it happens. For you are not what happens. You are to whom it happens. Ultimately, even the observer, you are not. You are the ultimate potentiality of which the all-embracing consciousness is the manifestation and expression. Questioner. Yet, between the body and the self, there lies a cloud of thoughts and feelings, which neither serve the body nor the self. These thoughts and feelings are flimsy, transient, and meaningless, mere mental dust that blinds and chokes. Yet they are there, obscuring and destroying. Maharaj. Surely the memory of an event cannot pass for the event itself, nor can the anticipation. There is something exceptional, unique, about the present event, which the previous or the coming do not have. There is a livingness about it, an actuality. It stands out as if illumined. There is the stamp of reality on the actual, which the past and future do not have. Questioner. What gives the present that stamp of reality? Maharaj. There is nothing particular in the present event to make it different than the past and future. For a moment, the past was actual, and the future will become also. What makes the present so different? Obviously, my presence. I am real, for I am always now, in the present, and what is with me now shares my reality. The past is in memory, the future in imagination. There's nothing in the present event itself that makes it stand out as real. It may be some simple, periodical occurrence, like the striking of a clock. In spite of our knowing that the successive strokes are identical, the present stroke is quite different from the previous one and the next, as remembered or expected. A thing focused in the now is with me, for I am ever present. It is my own reality that I impart to the present event. Questioner. But we deal with things remembered as if they were real. Maharaj. We consider memories only when they come into the present. The forgotten is not counted until one is reminded, which implies bringing in to the now. Yes, I can see there is in the now some unknown factor that gives momentary reality to the transient actuality. Maharaj, you need not say it is unknown, for you see it in constant operation. Since you were born, has it ever changed? Things and thoughts have been changing all the time, but the feeling that what is now is real has never changed, even in dream. Questioner. In deep sleep, there is no experience of the present reality. Maharaj, the blankness of deep sleep is due entirely to the lack of specific memory, but a general memory of well-being is there. There is a difference in feeling when we say, I was deeply asleep, from I was absent. Questioner. We shall repeat the question we began with, between life's source and life's expression, which is the body. There is the mind and its ever-changeful states. The stream of mental states is endless, meaningless, and painful. Pain is the constant factor. What we call pleasure is but a gap, an interval between two painful states. Desire and fear are the weft and warp of living. Both are made of pain. Our question is, can there be a happy mind? Maharaj. Desire is the memory of pleasure, and fear is the memory of pain. Both make the mind restless. Moments of pleasure are merely gaps in the stream of pain. How can the mind be happy? Questioner. That is true when we desire pleasure or expect pain, but there are moments of unexpected, unanticipated joy. Pure joy, uncontaminated by desire, unsought, undeserved, God-given. Maharaj, still, joy is joy, only against a background of pain. Questioner. Is pain a cosmic fact or purely mental? Maharaj, the universe is complete, and when there is completeness where nothing lacks, what can give pain? Questioner. The universe may be complete as a whole, but incomplete in details. Maharaj. A part of the whole seen in relation to the whole is also complete. Only when seen in isolation it becomes deficient and thus a seat of pain. What makes for isolation? Questioner. Limitations of the mind, of course. The mind cannot see the whole or the part. Maharaj. Good enough. The mind, by its very nature, divides and opposes. Can there be some other mind which unites and harmonizes, which sees the whole in the part and the part as totally related to the whole? Questioner. The other mind, where to look for it? Maharaj. In going beyond the limiting, dividing, and opposing mind, in ending the mental process as we know it. When this comes to an end, that mind is born. Questioner. In that mind, the problem of joy and sorrow exists no longer? Maharaj. Not as we know them, as desirable or repugnant. It becomes rather a question of love seeking expression and meeting with obstacles. The inclusive mind is love in action, battling against circumstances, initially frustrated, ultimately victorious. Questioner: between the spirit and the body, is it love that provides the bridge? Maharaj: what else? Mind creates the abyss, the heart crosses it.
Sadguru Shri Baba ki
जय सद्गुरु श्री अनंत जी की जय
Guru Kripa ki Sing.
बार बार दिल ये आए बार बार दिल ये आए बार बार दिल ये आए तुम जियो हजारों साल ये मेरी आरज़ू Happy birthday to you Happy birthday to you Happy birthday, dear Amaya. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amaya. Happy birthday